Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jenny and I want to share with you today what I'm going to be reading for the month of October. So I have quite a few novels for this month, more than nonfiction. I guess I'm gearing up a bit for nonfiction November, but we'll see. So first one I wanted to tell you about was With or Without Angels by Douglas Burton. I learned about this novel on Sean Breath's Books channel, and I tend to want to read books that are about art and artists, and so that is what this one is about. So this follows a male artist near the end of his life, or I don't know if it's necessarily the end of his life, but he's an elderly person. He has been having health issues and potentially memory issues, and it's told kind of in vignettes after he is drawn to this fresco in Venice, which is a fresco by the artist Giandomenico Tiepolo, Il Mundo Nuovo, which means the New World. And he is inspired by this fresco and then wants to create a series of photographs because he no longer can really paint, in conjunction with a younger woman who's also an artist, and she is helping him. She is like manipulating the photos to look the way he's telling her he wants them to look. And each chapter is basically the creation of another photo. And the other character in this book is his wife. And there are some allusions drawn between the young woman and his wife. Yeah, that's what this one's about. And I will check in again when I've finished it. And in my reading wrap up, you'll be able to find out what I think of this one. Okay, so I have next Cross Stitch by Jazmina Barrera, which was translated from the Spanish by Christina MacSweeney. And I heard about this book from Brian, I think his channel is now called Bookish Texan. Brian mentioned this, and this is in one part a coming of age story about three young women who are friends who indulge in some embroidery, cross-stitch, textile work together. And it's also, in another part, one of these women reflecting back on their friendship when one of the women dies. And so it's kind of about female friendship, female bonds, coming of age, and then looking back with regret or with wondering what could have been, that type of story. So I'm really looking forward to this one. Next is my fresh read for the month of October. I've been doing a fresh reads project all year, and that is reading books that have been published in the current year, 2025, and also 2024 and 2023. I have a tendency to let books linger on my TBR for a really long time and not to get to them right away when they come out. And so this year I wanted to try something new, and I've been vlogging the books that I've been reading for my Fresh Reads project. So those are all in my back catalog if you're interested in looking at them. And so for this month, I've chosen to read Follow Me to Africa by Penny Haw. This is a story of a young woman, 17-year-old Grace Clark in 1983, who travels to the Serengeti Plains of Tanzania with her father, and there she meets is she an archaeologist, Mary Leakey, who was a real person. And so obviously this is a fiction involving a real person. And it is a story of, learning to be in a new place, but also be with this really interesting person, this really powerful woman. And so I'm really intrigued by this one. I did read earlier this year a fictional book about Margaret Mead, so it's kind of fun to read about these women from history who were really interesting characters, but read about them in a fictional way. So yeah, this will be my fresh read, and I will be vlogging this one, so there'll be a vlog, and it'll also be included in my wrap up if you want to learn more about this book once I've read it. And then my other fiction read for October. This is going to be the end of the month because this one is a little bit spooky. So this is Behold the Many, a novel by Lois and Yamanaka. And Lois and Yamanaka is a Hawaiian author of Asian descent. And this book is set in 1913, where 3 young sisters are sent away from home because they've been stricken with tuberculosis and they live in a hospital away from their family. 2 of the sisters die. 1 of them survives. And the one who survives, once she moves on with her life, encounters some rather familiar ghosts. And these ghosts of her sisters come back and they're kind of mad at her. They're kind of jealous. They are upset that she gets to live and they died. And this is Anna's how she reconciles this reality of what's happening to her, being haunted by these sisters, and having her own daughter herself. So very excited to read this when it gets a little closer to Halloween and have a little bit more of a spooky story experience with this one. Okay, so I have 2 nonfiction books that I'm going to be reading this month. The first one is the final book in my Patreon book club for 2025. We read 1 book per quarter, so we divide the year into sets of 3 months. And for our last quarter of 2025, we are reading The Mirror and the Palette by Jennifer Higgie. This is a overview of 22 artists who used the self-portrait as one of their most important mediums in their work. And I believe that Jennifer Higgie's argument here, or her thesis here, is that because women were denied in a lot of ways conventional artistic training, so they weren't really allowed to paint from the nude or draw from the nude in their training, a lot of women resorted to self-portraiture. So they would use themselves as models in order to make their work. And so this book covers, I think Frida Kahlo is looked at here. Who else? There's actually several different artists. Katharina van Hemsen, Gwen John, Paula Menderson Becker, and Artemisia Gentileschi. All of these women, there's 22 in total, those are just a few of them, but all of these artists use self-portraiture as a means to make their work and to become artists. And so that is what this book is about. If you're interested in joining in and reading this one, you can check out my Patreon membership down below. It's very affordable and you can cancel anytime. You can join us just for 1 book and then cancel it if you don't like the next one. We do a discussion every single month about each book, and I also do a post every single month about each book. So we get to go as in-depth as we need to go, and it's a really great way to have accountability for your reading and community. So please join us if you're so inclined. And the other book that I have for the month of October is my audiobook, and that is The 100 Years War on Palestine by Rashid Khalidi. It is narrated by the author himself, and it covers the years of 1917 to 2017. I doubt anyone in this very moment is unaware of why I am reading a book about Palestine. But for posterity's sake, there has been a siege and an ongoing conflict that is mostly being perpetrated from one side in Gaza. And that's what this book is explaining, the history behind this region and these people and the continuous exploitation and colonialization of the Palestinian people by Israel. And it's a very sensitive topic for me personally in my family situation. But it is also something that, just like with the Indigenous experience here in Canada, myself being a settler, I feel compelled to educate myself on further and to gain more knowledge in this area. And I think this book is a really great way to do that. The premise is that Khalidi himself, his family, was, of an upper middle class in Palestine. And so he comes from that perspective, but also he picks 7 kind of critical moments from 1917 to 2017 that he is highlighting and writing about. He is a historian and was a professor and head of his department at Columbia University. He is Palestinian American, and he has recently stepped down from his role. I think he's retiring, but also he felt that the university industrial complex in the United States is not serving to educate, but more to create money. And so there's some really interesting information out there and articles with interviews with him about that. And yeah, that is my listening for the month of October. And that's what I'm going to be reading for the month of October. And I want to thank you so much for watching. And I will be back again soon with another video.